I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a warm welcome to NDEV's third side event at the Vienna Energy Forum 2021. Today, we will jointly dive into the guiding theme of supporting scalable food system business cases off-grid. And we are welcoming most interesting speakers to bring different perspectives to the table as a basis for the discussion. My name is Barbara Richard. I'm a team leader at the Energizing Development Program, and it is my pleasure to be your moderator today. Before we dive into our topic, some little housekeeping. As we are meeting virtually, please don't hesitate to post your questions or thoughts and comments in the Q&A chat. Which you'll find on the right-hand side in this call. The Q&A chat has the added value that other people can actually like your questions to give us a hint which questions and comments are really relevant to then take them up later on in the discussion. But I'm sure after 3 days of Vienna Energy Forum, you all have turned already digital experts with this platform. And with this said, I'm sure that you're just as eager to hear from our speakers, their inputs, and to then dive into the discussion. So what is this side event all about? Today, we are going to shed light on how productive use of energy can have transformative impacts on rural communities, which solutions are already out there, and which barriers are still to be overcome. NDEV's Learning and Innovation Agenda has analyzed approaches, innovations, trends, and identified learnings. All NDEV implementers basically bringing together their knowledge, experience, and as well their stakeholder networks, with SNV taking the lead in this exercise. I'm very happy to have speakers from SNV, Practical Action, and Energy for Impact to share their experience with us. And with this said, I wish you all an interesting deep dive into the world of productive use of energy and rural economic development. And I would like to now give the floor to Rianne Töler, Senior Energy Advisor at SNV.
Oh, I'm still muted. Thank you very much, Barbara. I hope you can still see my screen.
Yes.
Great.
Hello, Jacob. Perfect. Now we are complete. Great to have you on board.
Great. Okay, so let me start. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this side event, and also to the Vienna Energy Forum organizers for giving us this opportunity. My name is Rianne Töler, and I'm working as Senior Energy Advisor for SNV, Netherlands Development Organization. And
I have now joined.
Jacob, can you please mute?
Hello, I've joined.
Yes, Jacob, all works fine. Audio and video work fine. Exactly. We all go on mute so that people can hear Rianne. And Raya, thank you for your comment. Yes, we know that Rianne sounds a bit far away, so she will speak up and we will be very quiet.
All right, so let me continue. Just for those of you who do not know SNV, we are a not-for-profit international development organization with local presence in more than 30 countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. I will briefly present the NDEV Learning and Innovation Agenda on productive use of energy. Sorry, I have to multitask. The NDEV Learning and Innovation Agenda brings together a broad group of practitioners on productive use of energy, this way facilitating the learning and exchange on different productive use of energy promotion approaches. Learning and exchange between practitioners is essential to accelerate productive use of energy in developing countries. Under the NDEV Learning and Innovation Agenda, SNV, as Barbara already mentioned, is leading a community of practice, and we have 18 organizations working on promoting productive use of energy that are participating in that community of practice. We have analyzed various approaches to productive use of energy promotion based on the experiences from the NDEV implementing partners in this area. The outcomes of this analysis have been presented in a report, and my colleague will share the link in the chat. And I will summarize the main recommendations here. Our analysis shows that the promotion of productive use of energy requires a more holistic or ecosystem approach, addressing the key barriers such as the lack of appropriate products and business cases or a supportive enabling environment, while also integrating the key success factors, such as an integrated market approach and tailored productive use of energy monitoring in the project designs. So increased collaboration and coordination between stakeholders and projects are required to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency in the productive use of energy promotion. It is especially important to create stronger links between research and development and market development projects, starting from product development into the market scaling phase, to jointly translate research findings into concrete development projects and scalable business cases. And finally, cooperation between local financial institutions and impact funds or banks can play an important role in developing tailored financial products to enhance end-user affordability. We strongly recommend, therefore, to intensify stakeholder coordination at all levels between those involved in promotion of productive use of energy, especially at the country level. It is important to ensure that projects are complementary and mutually supportive. It is highly recommended to work in cross-sectoral multidisciplinary project teams to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of PUE promotion projects. And already in the project design phase, the activities should aim for scaling of the productive use of energy activities, also beyond the scope of the project. And finally, to provoke an integrated and flexible approach in productive use of energy promotion, stakeholders in the development sector need to be aware of the characteristics and needs and interventions specific to the field of productive use of energy, because it's really a different ballpark. In the following presentations, you will hear 3 practitioners talk about their experiences with the promotion of productive use of energy, and you will see that some of these aspects are reflected in their learnings. With that, I will hand over again to Barbara. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rian, for providing this great insight into the NDEF Learning and Innovation Agenda and the learning product and its findings. Once again, if you have any questions or comments, use the Q&A chat box function. And if you find any comments that you like, just give a thumbs up, a like, so that we can then pick out exactly those questions later for our discussion. And I think, as announced by Rianne, we are now all looking forward to hearing from our practitioners about the promotion of the use of sustainable energy in agricultural value chains. And we are going to start with our first speaker. Our first speaker is Mattia Vianello. He is head of energy at Practical Action and has lived and worked in Africa, so really experience from the ground. Mattia will illustrate the importance of truly understanding the complexity of agricultural value chains. So Mattia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Barbara. I hope you can hear me well. Yeah. Hi, everyone, and thanks for the invite. It's a good timing because we were just recently reviewing all our work in agriculture and energy, and also looking at the work others have been doing. So it's a good timing for sharing some of our thoughts from our experiences, but also I think for the wider sector. So my name is Mattia Vianello. I'm head of energy with Practical Action. We are a global group working across Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and South Asia. And we work across the topics of agriculture, energy access, climate resilience, and water and waste management, really with experience grounded in the ground and trying to bring lessons to build systems and which are inclusive, but also can really have an impact at scale. So we'll talk about some of our experiences, if you can move then to the next slide, please. But first, I would like just to touch base on why we're talking about this topic. And I'm sure most of the audience know all of this, but I think it's important just to reflect on those. And agriculture is where most people work in Sub-Saharan Africa, and 80% of the food production in the continent is from smallholder farmers, meaning, depending where we're talking about, 1-2 hectares max. The irrigation potential is not exploited, less than 12% is used. And post-harvest, so what happens after you collect from the field, is wasted because of poor storage, poor transportation, poor logistics. At the same time, Lighting Global shows that there is a potential market for 11 billion in productive use appliances like solar irrigation, cooling, refrigeration, and agro-processing. So big opportunity there, a big gap to fill, but what's not working and what are the challenges really? There are many, of course, as all of us knows, but I mean, some of the key ones are the demand side. Very often those technologies are not really suited to smallholder farmers' needs. Some of them, like solar pumps, start to be really suited, but other ones, like for example, solar milling, are not there yet. And it's expensive to bring them to the last mile, and there are not really good distribution networks, and it's hard for last mile distributors to build those economies of scale. Then even if you bring those technologies, you need and you start to produce more, and you start to process more, you need markets that absorb that. And so those agricultural markets and food markets needs to be developed at the same time. Another side of the story is that users and agribusinesses, even subsistence farmers, don't really know much about those energy products. And often, if you switch to a new technology, or the agricultural practice might need to change, or the culture itself of the way those things are traditionally done might inhibit the adoption. Then policies are very often a barrier, not everywhere. In Senegal, for example, they removed the VAT from solar products, so now solar pumps cost 20% less, which is great. And another big gap of that is financial provision. And for both the demand, so for the agribusinesses or smallholder farmers to cover up that high cost front, or for like the existence of solutions that allow them to buy them, but also for the suppliers to start to invest and start and open these new markets, which are still quite risky for them. Next slide, please. So very briefly, just touching a few lessons from 4 like top focus programs for us around this topic. So the first one, some work we're doing with PRIO, which is a program within TEA, Transforming Energy Access, a FCDO funded program. And we're working with agro enterprises in Malawi to establish business models for chilling and for greenhouses with deep irrigation. And really working with smallholder farmers to find ways to make this financially viable. And when we look at the priorities of the farmers here, very often what is missing is not the access to the existence of the right technology, but it's really for them to understand or to have the support to switch from pure subsistence to use those technologies in a way which can also generate revenue. Work we've done in West Africa, in Senegal and in Mali, Renewable Energy for Agriculture and Livelihoods program, has taught us that it's really important to understand specific value chains in context. So if you're working in Senegal, a millet value chain or a fish value chain might have very different energy needs. And each step of them, you need to understand what those are. At the same time, you need to bring together the actors from smallholder farmers to the players of the markets of off-grid appliances and also the policymakers to really understand how to make all this work. Good learning came from the work we did within the Green Mini Grid facility in Kenya, where we supported mini grid companies to understand and develop business models for productive uses of activities to sort of increase their demand, but also, and very importantly, I think it taught us that would help mini grid companies to understand better in which context, agricultural context, they would better work. Even there, focus on specific agri-value chain and the markets after that you need to access. Finally, some work we are doing, which really shows the importance of not only working to develop business models which are economically viable, but they're also good for the planet, which are environmentally sustainable. And this is some work we are doing in Kenya. It's called TRAIL, which is about developing markets using agroecology as a sort of base. Next slide, please. So to close here, I think some key points for conversation, but I guess some really key points from our side, from practical action, is that when we look at energy interventions in agriculture, we need to start from agriculture and the needs of smallholder farmers and rural communities. And those might be very different, even within the same country. As I say, it depends by the value chain, by the specific geography, and by many other contexts. So first, it's important to start that. And when we review the external environment, I mean, most of us, I think, here are energy experts, and energy donors are looking at this. So it's really coming from the energy side. We need, I think, to switch a bit that. Agriculture is complex, and we need the agriculture practitioners, donors, experts to really bring their voice here, and the voice of the smallholder farmers especially. I think we believe, and I think everyone here thinks that at the end of the day, we want those systems to pay for themselves, but there is need in the short term for funding to help companies of productive use appliances to de-risk their investment, to develop systems financial systems that allow users to access those, for example. And we really need a systemic approach, which means looking at the same time at the market systems of agriculture and of those of energy productive appliances. For example, looking at what is the best combination within a value chain of agriculture product and the energy application, which has the greatest potential for benefiting smallholder farmers, for example. And also to identify some of the barriers across that system that also Rian illustrated very well in our slide before. And just to close here, the focus needs to be, and we think, our agricultural experience shows that we need to think already about benefits and impact beyond economic and livelihoods. We need to think about the wider system, about land, the sustainability, and environment. And just to close it here, I think it shows, we really need to work together from agribusinesses, smallholder farmers groups, associations, to private company working in the off-grid space, policymakers, and organizations like ours. So look forward to the debate. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Mattia, for providing this valuable insight and for stressing the importance of taking the needs of the smallholder farmers as the starting point for designing projects. And smallholder farmers don't live in an agricultural world or in an energy world, but needs are a multitude of different sectors and needs that are to be combined. Now I would like to invite us all to virtually travel to East Africa and smallholder farmers facing barriers of access to consumer financing and other barriers. I would therefore like to invite Jacob Etunganan, Energy and Agricultural Advisor at SNV Uganda, to share his and his team's experience with the topic. So please, Jacob, the floor is yours. Jacob, you're still on mute. Can you hear us? I think your video has frozen. Yeah, I think he's reconnecting. I guess everybody as well in the audience is well experienced with technical hiccups that we all have been facing throughout the past 1.5 years. We will be waiting for a couple of seconds to give our speaker the opportunity to join back into the call, as it looks like he has been thrown out, or maybe his internet connection just broke down for a second. And then we will be hearing from Jacob Etunganan about the SNV experience in Uganda. So we are giving him some more time. Luckily, we're well in time, so it's not that bad to have some pauses in between. Hopefully, we have him back soon.
Otherwise, maybe we could start with Abdul, right?
Yeah, that's another option, what we could do. Abdul, if you would like to take over, and Rianne, if you could share Abdul's presentation, we can as well switch the order and give Jacob the time to reconnect to the call. Then we will do it the other way around and basically first travel virtually to West Africa to visit our speaker, Abdul Karim Dosso, Country Director of Energy for Impact in Senegal, to share his views and his experience on the importance of empowering women in the agricultural value chains, a really important topic. I'm very happy to have you on board. So Abdul, then the floor is yours.
Hi, many thanks, Barbara, for this presentation of myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Abdul Karim Dosso from Energy for Impact in Senegal. I'm the country director. So I'm going to talk about the empowering rural women for the productive use of energy in Senegal. Next slide. So Energy for Impact is a non-profit organization working with local businesses to extend access to energy in Africa. We work in West Africa in 2 countries, Benin and Senegal. In East Africa, we are in Kenya, Tanzania, and Rwanda. And we focus our work on 4 case challenges about coping with climate change, empowering women, boosting livelihoods, and saving the poor and vulnerable people. Next slide, please. So in terms of impact, we were able to allow about 18 million people to access to energy. We also supported the development and growth of 8,000 energy micro businesses, of which we have 46% managed by women. We were able to avoid about 15 million tons of CO2. We are able to raise about $116 million capital for businesses and create over 15,000 jobs in Africa. Next slide. So in Senegal, for the past 7 years, we have facilitated the employment of women through access to energy in various agricultural value chains. This has been possible with the support from SIDA, for the Energia Network, an international leader on gender and sustainable energy based in Netherlands. Also, we have support from GZ in the promotion of sustainable energy for women. Next slide, please. So in terms of challenges to rural women's empowerment, we see that the lack of access to sustainable and clean as energy source, the lack of technical, managerial, business, and entrepreneurial skills, lack of funding or further investment, unfavorable socio-economic environment for the development of the activities, and the lack of involvement of women in decision-making or policies making concerning them. Next slide, please. So first to these challenges, how we facilitate the empowerment of these women by strengthening the business and technical capacity for tailor-made support, by facilitating their access to capital through the establishment of innovative credit finance mechanisms dedicated to productive use technology. We also set up an ecosystem composing to MFI suppliers, the public sector, and NGO in order to improve the environment of our women. We also build their self-confidence and leadership skill so that they become champions by mobilizing and sensitivity decision maker, especially the government, to take into account the gender issues in energy policy and programs. Next slide. So in terms of achievement in the current program supporting women, we're able to support about 4,000 women entrepreneurs under this program. Also about 1,000 women entrepreneurs were able to acquire 160 solar technology for 11 different productive use applications. We are also developing 6 financial models that have mobilized over 20 and 70 kilo euro to support about 45 women entrepreneurs in Senegal. About 6,000 households across can benefit from the new services and products provided by our women entrepreneurs. About 50% of these women are making decisions in terms of investment and access to finance. And we can see now women are also more aware that they play a very important role in food security. Through their understanding about energy, they have become ambassadors for sustainable energy in their communities. Next slide, please. So the main lesson written is the promotion of productive use of energy for rural women is only possible with a real and sustainable financial inclusion policy. And we can see now in Senegal, the government taken some effort to reduce taxes on solar technologies, which are making significant contribution to women's access to energy. Also, the establishment of diversified partnerships has made it possible to build an ecosystem favorable for the promotion of renewable energy for women entrepreneurs. And every woman through a market approach is the best way to empower them. Next slide, please. So my key message is our experience show that access to solar technologies has enabled women to improve their working and living conditions for their family. So we urge the decision maker need to increase their commitment and investment in women empowerment to further strengthen them their resilience to climate impact, pandemic, and war in this world. Many thanks for your attention. I hope my English is very clear. I'm French people, so it's not easy for me. So thank you, and happy to have your question and give you more response. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdul. And I can assure you, as I did in our pre-call, your English is a lot better than my French. So don't worry. I think it was all very clear and good to understand. Thank you for as well accepting to present in English, I think very well done.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much.
And as well, thank you very much for being the voice of the women here and for stressing how important it is when talking about agricultural value chains to take into consideration how many women actually earn their living and are actively involved in agricultural value chains and bringing the topic of women entrepreneurship, economic empowerment to the table. So unfortunately, as you will have seen, our last speaker is in and out of the call. It looks like the internet connection to Uganda is currently pretty unstable. So as we have Jacob currently not on board, keeping fingers crossed that he will find his way back into our call with a stable connection. I would propose, as we still have three experts here with us, to look into some first questions and insights, and as soon as we have Jacob back on board, to then switch to his presentation. So first of all, I would like to take my privilege being a moderator and being able to pose the first question. I've seen as well that in the Q&A chat, first questions are coming up, what is really lovely. So if the audience has any other questions, please feel free to use the Q&A chat box. One question I would be interested in learning about is what gaps do you see in existing project designs to stimulate productive use of energy and agriculture, and what opportunities do we have to improve as well there? It's always a journey. It's always about improving. So where can we do better? And now I look for volunteers. Who would like to go first? Mattia, if you look like that at me, then I take you.
Yeah, I mean, I think thanks, Barbara, and yeah, great to hear about from those as well about their work with in Senegal. And I guess the question is quite broad, of course. So maybe I would just point a few points. The challenges and opportunities are, I think, as we present at different levels of the system. Talking about technologies, I mean, there are those which seems to be already more developed, like solar pumps, a couple of types at least that works for smallholder farmers and larger farms, refrigeration technologies from fridges to large storage rooms, while other ones, like for example solar milling, seems to need some more R&D. And at the same time, technology is a problem, but it's not really the real problem. The advancements are there. The real problem are around, I think, the access to finance for agribusinesses and smallholder farmers, and the existence of financial tools which allow them to pay for those technologies which have a high upfront cost. So you start to see, pay-as-you-go models coming into this sector. I think there is also started to be like some, of course, there is pay-as-you-go with solar pumps, but also with chilling and other type of those. Although a lot of the local commercial banks still don't, financial institutions still don't trust perhaps those technologies, don't know them. So there is a need there to bring more knowledge to that. And I think just to close, then I see Jacob is back. I think the voice again from smallholder farmers, what they really need is often not heard, and there is need for someone, I think, to do that and to really link that to the markets which are of grid appliances which are being developed. Thanks.
Thank you, Mattia. And it's lovely to have speakers who help me in my moderation and see that we have Jacob back on board. So we keep our fingers crossed that his connection is stable enough as to being able to enjoy his input and his presentation. So Rianne, may I ask you to share Jacob's presentation? Jacob is already on unmute. Perfect. So now we are going to travel virtually to East Africa and smallholder farmers facing barriers of access to consumer financing and other topics. I would therefore like to invite Jacob Etunganan, Energy and Agricultural Advisor at SNV Uganda, to share his knowledge with us. So please, Jacob, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Barbara.
No, we lost him again. It looks like Uganda is today really not the best place to be if you want to participate in an online discussion. So yes, we are flexible, no problem. Hopefully we will find the time slot in the next 30 minutes with Jacob to still being able to listen to his presentation. Then let's go back to our question about what is still to be improved in existing project designs to stimulate productive use, and to open the floor to Rianne or to Abdul if you would like to share some thoughts. Rianne, I see your finger. Yes, please.
Yeah, maybe just to add to let me get my microphone. Maybe just to add to what Mattia was already saying, which I very much agree with, is that I think every project design should really start with a thorough assessment of the needs of stakeholders involved. So the energy users, as Mattia mentioned, the smallholder farmers, processing companies, so every party that is involved in the value chain and has to deal with the energy needs, and then at the same time take into account also the goals of the local and national governments. So it's a little bit of a puzzle in between those kind of asks, and then of course you have the asks of the donor who has certain wishes and requirements to a project. But it's important to always ensure that you answer to the needs and not start thinking from the technology that you have to offer or the overall goal that you want to achieve. I think that's my main message.
Okay, thank you. Abdul, if you like, of course, you're welcome as well. Otherwise, I think I saw in the Q&A part some questions which I think go to your presentation.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide some response to 3 questions about my presentation. I'm also happy with Matthias and Rianne's responses about product use design. As from our activities, we find that we need to have more information about women activities they need before to provide technology, because sometimes there is a dimension issues, and when people are not happy with technology, it's not possible to promote well with other person. So we need to have more information about this issue. So another issue is about financial. As you know, technologies are very higher in Senegal, and the main people that we support are in rural area. They have a small income. They can provide guarantee to access to this equipment. So we need to set up um, a good solution on financial issues. Before to do that, Energy for Impact uh, set up a pilot with financial to show them the opportunity, the risk on this sector, and now they are happy to provide more credit to women on this technology. And this is now possible. Some women can take some decision to about credit on technology, solar technology this year. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I see Jacob is still coming in and out. So unfortunately, I guess we will need to skip his presentation, but hopefully he can hear us. So Jacob as well, please feel free to use the chat box if you have comments that you would like to share as a speaker, as long as your internet connection doesn't allow you to rejoin fully. So now I would like to have a look into the Q&A chat you all find on your right-hand side, where you'll find chat, polls, people, and Q&A. We have received some questions, and from Raya Kühne, we have received questions which I think go to you, Abdul, to Senegal. So one question is, what are the most common women-led businesses supported in Senegal? And the question, what I think is really interesting, are those one-woman businesses, or do those women entrepreneurs as well employ other people and grow their businesses into more? You are on mute, Abdul. No, I cannot hear you. Yes. Now.
Yeah. So many thanks for these questions. I hope my explanation in English will be very well for you. Maybe I can speak in French. Martial or Ariane can support me. So about the first questions, yeah, the main women entrepreneur that we are support women group. We are also family entrepreneurs, and we are also individual women, but they are not formalized. So yeah, this is the kind of the profile of our women. So they manage a small enterprise. It's not a big. It's a meso enterprise in rural area. So sometimes we can find some enterprise we can employ one or two person. So this is done in the solar refrigeration activities. We can employ one people to about selling, about production of juice. So the other activities about market gardening. In these activities, we have a big women group. Sometimes they have about 48 members in each group, and they work together in this place. But there is no, sometimes they take one or two persons to support them for hard activities. And these activities are managed by men. Yeah. So about there is one question about financial issues. This person want to know if woman-led entrepreneur needs different financial product. Yes, because there is a different kind of activities. Each activities could have a kind of one solutions. So, for example, for solar pumping and solar freezer, we set up a mixed credit where financial institution MFI take a risk to finance over 70% of the value of the equipment, and the suppliers also take risk, a small risk to accept to give to women 25 or 50% of the value of this equipment. It's not the same for other period activities. For example, for dryer solar, we can set up only the suppliers credit between the woman and the suppliers. And we are also test pay as you go, but it's not really the best solution for our women, because sometimes the repayment is very high, and suppliers are not cannot know very well the system. So it's not work very well in Senegal, but I think some suppliers try to do that.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. I noticed one could talk with you a long time and many details and a lot of knowledge in there. So as some of you might have seen in the chat box, as Jacob is still in and out, we are flexible, and Rianne, as she knows the presentation and the work that Jacob is doing quite well, will step in to ensure that we are not losing out on this valuable insight from East Africa. So I see, Jacob, you are as well online. Rianne, so let's give it a try with the presentation. As long as we have Jacob on board, yes, I would say we give it a go with Jacob, and if you drop out again, then Rianne can take over for you.
Okay, please.
Jacob, you are on mute.
Yes, I will quickly run through this. Sorry for the network. I will be presenting my experiences from the CRAFT project, which is the Climate Resilient Agribusinesses for Tomorrow. We're trying to strengthen the resilience of agribusinesses to climate change, and then works directly also with the smallholder farmers. So next, specifically CRAFT, we try to contribute to increase availability of accessible and climate resilient food for the growing populations of Kenya and Tanzania. And in our outcomes, we're trying to see how do we increase adoption to climate smart practices and technologies, and specifically renewable energy and energy efficient technologies. But also looking into increased investments into agribusinesses and their business growth, but also looking at how we use energy efficiency and introduction of renewable energy technologies to improve on their resilience. And the third, how we improve on the enabling environment for large scale. So we're looking at climate smart services, we're looking at climate smart financing and scaling of climate smart solutions. Rian, next page. Yes, so our approach towards integration starts from creating the demand. How do we create awareness of the need for PU among smallholder farmers, cooperatives, agribusiness SMEs, and the financial institutions, which is the whole ecosystem. But also, how do we ensure that we assess energy use across the value chain and the businesses that we're participating in? But also, most importantly, is how we make a linkage between those who are in need and where awareness has been created, and together with the financial institutions and solutions providers of these specific energy solutions. And then finally, how do we develop a business case together so that in the end, we have a value proposition of improved productivity, increased income, and reduced food losses and employment opportunities together with the reduced CO2 emissions. Next, Brian. So, as we are implementing, we have some bit of challenges, and specifically PU is a new sector. So I'm saying there's still limited reach of the PU technologies especially to the last mile market, due to increased cost of distribution, because we're targeting rural communities. These are farmers, but also we're working with low margin agricultural value chain, where we see the business cases a little weaker for the PU integration at smallholder farmer level. But also in terms of PU,
sorry for interrupting you, Abdul. Could you mute yourself? We have a slight echo. Thank you.
Technologies and business models that we can go on. And finally, within the challenges, we also see that we cannot be able to deploy some of the consumer financing models, which we have already deployed in some off-grid systems, such as improved cookstoves and solar home systems. How do we see this deployed within the PU space? And the message is here: how do we develop, but also how do we tailor affordable business, but also consumer financing models to support adoption of PU at scale? And in this case, we're trying to see how do we unlock the financing barrier, because that is the in thing if we really have to see adoption of PU at scale. And we have some lessons learned in our next slide. Please, Rian. So we realized that one of the key mature technologies in the PU space is the solar irrigation pumps. But the viability of the solar irrigation pumps really requires an enterprise diversification strategy. And in more so, for it even to be much more viable, then you even have to bundle with other services. Because irrigation in one way or the other is not the magic bullet, but if you compound it with other services to smallholders, then the viability is increased. But also, we also realize the group efforts, and then in what we call the strengths of the farmer cooperatives, but also the farmer groups in trying to increase the adoption of these technologies, because they do collective marketing and then they have collective aggregation. So if you promoted the technologies through these groups, then we can easily see an increased adoption. On the other side is an issue of the business case. We start to see a business case stronger at the processing level, especially for low margin value chains. And again, most farmers participate in these value chains because they are food security based value chains. And of course, you see it a little bit more evident within the high value margin. The PU sector is the cross-sectoral awareness and collaborative engagement. Because energy should not be looked at as a Ministry of Energy issue. It should also be with other sectors like agriculture. That's why we take on a nexus approach. What are the issues? Do the people in agriculture, do the extension workers understand the value proposition productive use of energy brings to this space? So specifically, these were some of our insights within our craft project, which is led by SNV. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you, Jacob, and for really being wanting to come back to us so that we could as well hear from Uganda and from your experience as well. And I think as well a very important experience from the grounds, from smallholder farmers, and what is actually needed in terms of cooperation in the future. So we have 10 more minutes, and I would like to pose one more question to our group of experts, and that is looking into the future. So what is, in your view, needed to actually now accelerate and scale productive use of energy business models, and what can we do in our various capacities and roles to really push that acceleration to make productive use of energy a reality to all those people and smallholder farmers who are currently facing more barriers than chances? Who wants to go first?
Yes, I can go first.
Yes, your internet is there.
Specifically, if we're trying to scale, how do you scale a productive use of energy? And then to me, the critical area we have to look at is how do we develop the financing kind of models that in one way or the other are tailored to suit what would be our end consumers. But also it requires us to work within an ecosystem space where we have the financial institutions working together with the aggregators of these foods, working together with the policymakers, and working together with the research institutions. But most importantly also is that cross-collaboration. How do we foster that cross-collaboration, that energy and agriculture come in together and realize that these are the issues and how this is how we can actually utilize productive use technologies to address some of the low productivity issues, some of the quality issues that are being faced. So I will start from there and I'll leave to the rest of the team.
Thank you, Jacob. I think as well, again, spot on and a very clear message. So maybe Rianne, you go next and share your view from the more global view and implementers level.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think Jacob already mentioned the key important points also at the country level. Indeed, from a global level, it's extremely important to continue learning and exchange between the practitioners, but also between donors, between everyone involved basically in this area. And then intensify the coordination so that we are strengthening each other's works rather than maybe competing or working in parallel. And yeah, we can also really increase our efficiency and effectiveness if we are more transparent to each other. And I think it's important to recognize also your own strengths and compare to what are other organizations' strengths and your own weaknesses. So where maybe we as SMV have a weakness, we are very happy to collaborate with other partners who are strong in a certain area. So really seek each other's expertises and strengths and work in partnership. I think that's really what we can still improve on jointly.
Thank you very much, Rianne. Abdul, if I look at timekeeping, 2 minutes for your final statement.
Yeah, so about this question, I think in addition to access to capital, I think we need to test productive use applications so we can be able to promote the successful business model, and so people can have more confidence. And also, I think we need to get from policymakers more involving to make some law in favor of productive use, such as in Senegal, last 6 months, we have a good news about the reduction on taxes and mainly on productive use technology. This is a good thing. I think they can go ahead so that in rural area we can facilitate access to these technologies for women also.
Thank you very much.
I have some questions for you. I'm prepared some response about all questions, and I can't send them to the participant. So
Perfect.
can you help me, please?
Yes, that's the nice thing about this platform as well, that it is easy to get connected as well bilaterally and continue the discussions in detail. So Mattia, then a final statement for you on how do we bring productive use of energy business models to scale?
Thanks. Okay, so just try not to repeat what others have said. So I guess 3 things. One, I think is really connecting the local to the global. So the local needs, smallholder farmer needs, and agriculture, technology distributors, etc., to the global level where money, decision, policies are made. So we need those who raise this voice of the people on the ground and bring them to shape and change this higher level. Then support development of markets and of those appliances, which means developing all the financial systems we discussed, but also working at the enabling environment level, the supporting services, spare parts, maintenance, skills, and really trying to make that match between demand and offer also in terms of prices. And then to close, I'd say really focus on the agri-value chain, understand those, and really think beyond the short-term results think about, sustainability, now everybody's talking about regenerative agriculture. I think, this is not just good because we're talking a lot about those topics, but it's just fundamental to make this actually inclusive and even economically viable in the longer term. So this sustainability aspect of environment and respect of the land is fundamental as well when we talk about those. So yeah, those I guess are my 3 points to close. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mattia. So our site event is slowly but surely coming to an end, and it has been a pleasure to listen to our speakers, to learn from their experiences and see as well the questions coming up in the Q&A session. It has become clear how relevant productive use of energy is to foster economic development, especially in rural areas. We have heard a strong call to understand productive use of energy as being more than a contribution towards achieving SDG 7, as we are entering into a really complex ecosystem when talking about agricultural value chains. And we have heard a strong call for cooperation, for joining, for teaming up, for partnerships, for joint efforts by governments, by development partners, by financial institutions to really make it happen and come to scale. And what we should never forget when talking in these rounds, and it has been a red thread in all presentations, interventions should be based along the needs of smallholder farmers, as well as women's active in agricultural value chains. All what we do is basically for the target group, so we should not forget to keep them and their needs in the focus when planning and designing our interventions. All this is leading to one common goal of improving lives and creating economic opportunities around the world in our partner countries. And as much as I and hopefully everybody else has enjoyed engaging in this discussion, I would now like to close today's site event. I wish everybody the time to enjoy more of the interesting events around the Vienna Energy Forum, which are still taking place today. What is left for me to say is to express my appreciation, first of all, to SNV and Rianne, who have taken the lead to organize this event. As well to all our speakers for sharing their experience, being open about success stories, challenges, and discussing with us about the future of productive use. And of course, as well to all our participants for their interest in learning about productive use in agricultural value chains. And with that, I wish you all a very good day.